You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 149 of Retired Racehorse Radio on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, National Thoroughbred Racing Association Equine Discounts, and Spalding Labs. Retired Racehorse Radio is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse. Brought to you in cooperation with the Retired Racehorse Project and New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program.
On today's show, we introduce our 2025 Making the Makeover rider, Samantha Fawcett. We then catch up with Bridget Heasley from New Vocations on what bit she recommends for a Standie's first outing and introduce our adoptable horse of the week. Stay tuned.
And they're off on Retired Racehorse Radio, the podcast that is your guide to the adoption, care, and training of the retired racehorse.
This is Joy Orr in Detroit, Michigan.
This is Kristen Kovach-Bentley in Jamestown, New York, and you are listening to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Kristen, I have mad FOMO of watching you work your horses, even if it's in small capacity.
You like my 20 minutes of walking?
Yes.
Okay, no, I did jog and lope actually the other day. So we are recording this. It's the end of March. I'm looking out at a fresh blanket of snowfall, which is severely disappointing. But before that, Eric and I got very bold one day and we went out into the cow pasture because the footing was pretty good and walked around for a ways. And then I was like, you know what? If we have our emotional support Shorty out here, who's pretty much only walking because he's still really under-muscled from being on stall rest and like laid up since September, I was like, all right, Eric will just walk and I'm just going to like circle you like a border collie, and jogged quite a bit. And then I found over the years, this is what, my 8th spring with Jobber, I think, 7th, something like that. If you kind of trick him, like we jogged for 5 minutes and then I was like, and we're just going to casually lope off. And he was like, wait, what are we doing? Are we loping? And I was like, nope. So you just got to trick him for like 10, 15 strides before he figures out what's going on. And then like right back down to trot. And I was like, nope, we're just trotting, having a great time. And then like trotted around and kind of bent him the other way and was like, and we're going to lope again. And he was like, wait, what are we? I was like, nope, we're just trotting. So he doesn't catch on real fast. So you just got to trick him. So he didn't have enough time to realize that we were loping. Cause then when he does, then it's like, and the head goes up and then the whole body goes up and then it's like just a mess. So I just fooled him a little. So just long enough to prove we still have both leads. So I was like, great. All right, good. Benchmark for the year. So now that it's all wet again, I don't think I can ride for like at least another week and a half, but at least I got to lope for those 5 seconds.
And you got both leads after winter leads off.
Yep. And light on the shenanigans, which is always nice. Because Jobber's really got some moves. So.
I love it. And is Shorty happy to be back with this person?
Oh, I think so. He like Eric gets on, they just stand there and Shorty's just like, this is nice. Shorty doesn't have a thought in his head. So he's just like happy to be included.
He's just living his life.
Yeah. Yeah. Because so like my mom's been coming back out again now that the time's changed, the weather's nicer. So mom's come out of her hibernation. I asked her, she does not listen to the podcast. So I can say things like my mom came out of hibernation and it's fine.
Even if my mom listened, I probably would say that. I might be a horrible daughter.
Just hide it as an Easter egg. Hey, mom. No, she said she doesn't like to listen to other people talking. So fine, you do you. I will continue to talk to Joy about you. Anyway, so she's been riding Wes. And there's been a couple of days where Eric, was busy or tied up and couldn't make it out. So rather than leave Shorty back in the paddock to like run around and rip his single shoe off, that's protecting that foot that's recovering, I've just been ponying him around and he absolutely loves that. He's like, this is great.
What a good boy.
To the point where I was like, do I even need to put him on a line? Like, I think he might just follow me around. I haven't quite gotten that brave yet.
He probably would though.
He'd probably just be like, Shorty. Okay. Yeah. Just be like, I'm here with my half a brain cell.
So, is Wes behaving? So we know he became a diva over the winter.
Oh yeah. I taught him a new thing that I wish I had not taught him. So like, it's on the days where you're just doing chores quickly, like Jobber comes in first, then Shorty comes in, and then Wes usually is like hot on Shorty's heels. So I was like, listen, like he knows where he's going in the barn. I've moved him up now. He gets the front bucket, so he doesn't have to dodge past any other horses. So I've just been letting him come in and walk to the bucket because I don't have stalls. I just have like tie areas. So now, you turn around to catch him and he's like, nope, nope, nope. And he's just like yogging right into the barn to go to his bucket. And I'm like, okay, shouldn't have taught you that. Cause now he's like, feels very entitled to just wander in the barn with no halter on, which is a little bit of a chaos situation. So I got to unteach that one. It's amazing how fast they learn a bad habit because you get lazy.
It is true. It is true. I'm actually dealing with some bad habits right now because Mildred's back in my life.
Mildred.
Yes, I love Millie. That is not a bad thing at all.
It's nice to have her back on the show.
Yes. I mean, she hasn't gone anywhere. She still has her lovely amateur junior rider. They are doing phenomenal things. They actually just had their first clinic of the season. It went really well. Last year they had the same dressage clinic and they did walk trot. And, we were a giraffe and we didn't have body muscle. We were just figuring things out. And then this year they did training test 2 for the first time. Like we did not practice tests. It was like, go in there and figure it out. You know how to walk trot canter.
Yeah, it's good. Keep them on their toes.
And overall, I thought she was really lovely. She started to develop a collected canter and just their relationship. They are such a perfect pair in a lot of ways. So, but her owner's on spring break and I have Miss Millie and she has developed some interesting habits that we're working through. She hates the indoor, which is fair. She likes outdoor. She likes a big arena. The indoor she's at now isn't the biggest. It's definitely like a 1-2 horse arena. So she throws a bit of a temper tantrum when it's time to work. Nothing major, but we're quite sassy, like a lot of head tossing. We get very squirrely in the cross ties. We forgot how to stand like a lady. Which I'm very good at teaching that one. So that's one of the things we're going back to is we're still getting worked, but I'm more focused on, she's great under saddle, but we need to keep the attention and be exciting again for the non-working things. So we're doing a lot of treat training, which before anyone comes at me, that's going to teach her bad habits. I don't care. I just don't care about your opinion on that. Sorry. You do you. But for me, with horses, especially ones who are very intuitive and are very food motivated, if it keeps their attention, I'm all for using alfalfa pellets or a low sugar treat to keep it. But we only reward the good habits. So head has to be low. I always start out with just, I'm aiming for 30 seconds of good behavior. You get a treat, and then we just work our way up to a few minutes at a time. And it's been good so far. She tried to be silly for her body work. We had a coming to Jesus moment. Nothing major. I mean,
Who wants to be silly for body work? That's the best part.
She was upset because she heard one of her friends leave the barn and she gets FOMO. Okay.
Fair. So do I.
I mean, same, but I'm like, you're going to be fine. So she tried to keep walking backwards to see where she could get out of the situation. And so I just made her do tiny circles in the aisleway. And I was like, are you done?
Yeah. Are we done? Move their little feet around until they don't want to move their feet around anymore. And then suddenly standing still sounds so much more fun.
Yes. And so that's what we're going to be doing. Because the old thing that her owners were doing was just take her into the arena and let her run it out. Which is fine if that's what you feel is safest. But it's also now something she's learned of. I can get my nervous energy out by acting like this.
Yeah. Also tough when you don't have an arena. Really wish I could let my guys do that sometimes, and I just don't have a good place for it. So
there's a time and place for sure, but I want to get her where she's not doing it all the time. And instead we can just be calm inside. She's going to be a saint when she can go outside for riding again.
Yeah.
But
mental training is hard.
Weeks.
It's really hard to train mental and emotional states in horses. The physical part is far easier by comparison.
Yes.
To teach them to go a certain way. So yeah. Respect.
Love, she's not dangerous, but she is also the horse of a 12-year-old and we can't be super pushy. So going back to basics.
Love it. Well, a good time to do it. So
yes. But I'm excited that we did get the time change. It makes it a lot more motivating, even though it's still cold out. At least it's light. It's a lot less depressing to go to the barn.
You can see the frost on the ground now.
Yeah,
no, it's fine. It is.
I never wonder if I'm stepping on a dog or anything. It's so dark outside. So
it's nice for me because that means that Eric and I go to the barn together. So
I know you guys are so cute. So
We
cute.
are very cute. I know.
And then I have one more question for you that's super important. When am I going to see the cow hostages be released? I'm
Oh, they are
anxiously waiting on Instagram.
starting. Our little beef seeds, they have begun. Yeah, we're up to 2. Yeah, so the heifers are first year cows. I don't know what is like standard in English language, so maybe you knew that. I
Well,
don't know.
beef seeds now.
Well, yeah, that's the highly professional technical term. A heifer is a cow who has not calved yet. So, like a maiden mare. So a heifer is a maiden cow. So the heifers and a handful of adult cows, I guess grown up mature cows that got sent up to the other farm with them, to kind of help
Mhm.
babysit and show them the ropes. They got bred a month earlier than the rest of the herd. So those have started to calve. So we have I1 and I2 on the
Oh, I'm
ground right
so
now. They look
excited.
identical. So yeah, I'll sneak out and get some pictures for you guys.
Love it. This is my favorite time of year to see all the baby thoroughbreds if you follow any farms online. I know Mareworthy's got 2 right now, and they have Full Circle. You can follow that. And then baby cows. Just all the baby animals is my favorite time of year.
It is that time.
Yes.
And they're very cute too. Like, so we have for a while we had just been doing just Black Angus bulls on mostly Black Angus cows, and the babies are Black Angus, and they're very cute and they're very fluffy. But we have a Black Hereford bull right now, which is a black cow with a white face, which means that he's kind of throwing some color on the babies too. So like they have little white faces and like little lacy marks and stuff, and they're very cute. So yeah, so far they're just 2 bull calves that look exactly like their father. So and identical to each other. So it's a good thing they're ear tagged because they look the same. I was like, oh, this is the same thing twice.
Oh, I love it. Such a fun time of year. And also, it's a fun time of year because we have our first Making the Makeover rider for the year. I'm so excited for it. We're doing things a little different. You'll hear more about it in this episode. But before you get into all those fun things, you're going to hear from our premier sponsor, Kentucky Performance Products.
This Nutritional Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. One of the most common mistakes seen in feeding programs is the underfeeding of commercial concentrates. Commercial concentrates are textured or pelleted feeds that provide energy, protein, vitamins, and minerals. Some common manufacturers are Triple Crown, Nutrina, Purina. You get the idea. Every commercial feed has a minimum amount you must feed in order to meet a horse's daily vitamin and mineral requirements. For most commercial concentrates, that level is somewhere between 4 to 6 pounds per day. A lot of horses will get too fat consuming feed at that level, so owners and barn managers feed less, and rightly so. It's not healthy for a horse to get too fat. However, if you are feeding less than the recommended minimum amount to your horse, you are not providing your horse with adequate nutrition. Microphase Vitamin and Mineral Supplement from Kentucky Performance Products can solve your problem. Microphase can be added to the diet as needed to fill in the nutritional gaps. Packed with nutrients but low in calories, you can adjust the feeding level of Microphase to meet your horse's requirements. Learn more about Microphase by visiting kppusa.com. Got questions about your feeding program? We can help. Email Karen at questions@kppusa.com or call us at 859-873-2974.
Well, Joy, it is our favorite time of year other than Christmas. It is time to introduce our Make the Makeover trainer. And this year we've kind of reformatted again. We're always just trying to switch it up, keep it fresh, keep it new every year. We have one featured trainer with us this year, and I'm super excited to get to chat and get to know Samantha Fawcett this year. So Samantha, welcome to Retired Racehorse Radio.
Thank you.
Yeah, super pumped. So I have gotten to know Sam kind of like adjacent at the makeover, like I never get the chance to hang out with anybody really, but I get the chance to whiz by in a golf cart and wave and hopefully catch people for victory interviews, which is how I first got to talk to Sam when you won the show jumping. Was that in 2019, 2020? All the years have run together with Canton Comet.
Right. Yeah, it was with Canton Comet in 2021 for the class of 2020. So I had actually gotten to hold on to her for that extra year, and we competed at the Mega Makeover.
That's what it was. Yeah. Okay. And the Mega Makeover, that was a marathon. So all of those ran together for sure. So I'm glad that you remember that much better than I do. So, and Sam, you're based, right? Because you just bought a farm, which is very exciting. We want to hear all about that. You're based in Arthur, Ontario. Yeah, tell us about your
Yes,
new
we
place.
are. So it's a beautiful 35 stall facility. It was a new build in 2017, so it's still pretty fresh and clean in there now that we've been working on it. And it's a 50-acre property. So lots of room for turnout for the horses, and we're just really looking forward to having a place where we can finally set down some roots and grow. Because we've actually had to relocate several times over the last couple years for property selling or changing use of what they were doing on the property, not wanting horses anymore. So this time, this is our last move, and we're just really looking forward to being able to grow our team.
Oh, that's so cool. On 35 stalls, I mean, you've got some serious room there to expand.
Oh, I could do a lot of shopping right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
We got the
goal is
hookup.
right? The goal is to get more clients, sale horses, and just have more opportunities when I do see some nice thoroughbreds come up that I can pick them up and let them have a little bit of downtime without being stuck for stalls.
I love that. That's awesome. So, so you're a professional trainer, right? Full time?
Yes.
Love that. Okay, cool. So, and that's, one of the reasons we're excited to have you on this year, to pick the brains of some more pros. Joy and I are both adult amateurs. I guess I'm in the Western land where we call it non-pro for some reason. We don't call it adult amateur in Western world, but we are both adult amateurs. So we always love, getting to chat with some pros and pick your brain this year. So I think we're going to have a really fun season, kind of talking about your process and how you choose horses. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about, your history with the makeover, because you've been part of that show now several times. So what made you decide to compete this year?
So this will be my 7th year back applying and aiming for the makeover. My first one was in 2019. And there's a few things that definitely keep me coming back. First and foremost, I wholeheartedly support the mission of the Retired Racehorse Project. There's a lot of amazing horses retiring from the racetrack every year to pick from. And I think that the RRP has done a really great job of promoting the versatility of off-track thoroughbreds, and also in promoting and raising awareness for the need for aftercare for these incredible athletes. Of course, the Kentucky Horse Park is absolutely gorgeous. So it's a venue that I really look forward to having in my show schedule every year, and getting to take it's a little bit of a vacation for me because I only take maybe 3 horses down max. So it's a little bit less chaotic than a lot of my horse shows tend to be. And it's just, I really look forward to going down every year and getting to see everyone that I, like you said, only typically run into at the makeover.
I love that you think it's less chaotic.
I was like, I don't know if Kristen would agree.
I will say, okay, when I showed there, I thought it was a little less chaotic than when I manage me and my husband, and even with each of us one person per horse, it's still chaos. So at least me with one horse was far less chaotic. But yeah, now that I'm on the management side, I'm forget it, this is chaos. But yes, no, yeah. I appreciate what you're saying. I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, and I love only 2 or 3 compared to 7 or 8.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that. You believe in the mission of the RRP and supporting thoroughbreds. Can you tell us a bit about your background in horses and what made you start to get excited about restarting thoroughbreds?
So I started riding back when I was 8 years old. I think I read Black Beauty and started begging for horseback riding lessons after that. There wasn't really anyone horsey in my family. So I just took lessons at the local stable and kind of worked my way up from there, I guess. I eventually ended up buying my first horse when I was 14, and his name was Rocky. He was an appendix quarter horse. Was definitely more thoroughbred than he was quarter horse. Even back 20 years ago, they were already working a lot of thoroughbred blood in, but I worked really hard to pay for it myself, so I didn't really get to do a lot of showing. I didn't really come up through the traditional sense per se for a lot of hunter jumpers where they've had big youth careers and then they move into, immediately becoming a professional after they've had a successful junior season. And so for me, my first full show season actually wasn't until 2017 when I was 27 years old on a beautiful black warm blood named All Black Cadillac that I got as a feral 4-year-old. He was not halter broke. I got him from Saskatchewan. So he had actually been purchased by somebody else. And when he arrived and they realized how feral he was, they immediately put him up for sale. And that was when I kind of scooped him up. And he was a really difficult horse to work with just due to his past of living on like 1,000 acres until he was 4 years old. And he definitely was always a little bit on the sensitive side. Not your I wouldn't call him a dumb blood by any means. He's very intelligent. There's definitely some warm blood in there, but he's got some thoroughbred blood for sure. And I was actually put in touch with this man named Rick, who became my mentor for a few years because he was known for dealing with quirky horses. And I did a lot in a very short period of time with Rick. He really unlocked the brilliance of that horse and taught me a lot about dealing with horses who can be a little bit more sensitive, which definitely, you know, makes a lot of people think about the thoroughbreds. And that was his upbringing, was all thoroughbreds, retraining thoroughbreds, getting them all the way up to the Grand Prix. He worked with a lot of really fantastic horsemen like Will Stein-Krause, Rodney Jenkins, and some of our Canadian riders up here. And he was actually the one that kind of got me onto doing thoroughbreds as projects. We did a mare together. Her name was Moon and Back, and we called her Molly. And he really helped me from the get-go and picking her out, telling me what to look for, helping me along with, you know, the basics of like getting her started with some groundwork, getting her going under saddle, and how he had this program that worked with a lot of thoroughbreds over many decades. And he kind of showed me that. And that was kind of really what started getting me onto the thoroughbreds. Was after that I was hooked, and we started doing a couple more thoroughbred projects together. And even after I stopped working with him when he retired, I just continued with the thoroughbreds. And my first makeover was actually a month after we found out that we had to retire that warm blood that I was speaking about, all black Cadillac, but we call him Tucker. And so the makeover was kind of bittersweet, and I just had so much fun there, and that we decided, you know, it would be a nice goal every year to get a young horse, get them trained, and head down for like a nice big show in order to help develop my string back up after having to retire a horse that, you know, I poured 8 years of training into. So yeah, that was kind of how I got really into it.
That is wild that like a feral 4-year-old, like how does I'm still like, oh my gosh. And then, you know, I also like too, you know, that compared to some, you know, I think there's this misconception, right? That like, if you don't just like have a hot professional career right out of the gate, it's really hard to make it at a level.
Yeah.
So like, I love your trajectory, you know, that it's going to give most of us. I mean, okay, I'm a little older now, so like maybe not me, but like, you know, another young trainer, like, you know, you don't have to just be the hot shot in the juniors and then like, bang, you're right out of the gate as a pro. So that's really exciting. And I think I've heard too that I think a lot of professionals kind of get drawn to the thoroughbreds that way too. Like,
yes. I mean, I really believed for a long time, I was kind of stuck in that grouping too, where it was like, if I wanted to do anything in the 100 jumper world, like I had to have a warm blood. And one of the horses that I worked with that gentleman on was a horse that he had some baggage. He had some history. He'd been through a few trainers. And when he came to us, Rick, you know, he told me this horse used to love just charging the fences. And he was like, don't touch him. I don't care how many fences you take down. I don't charge you any extra to put them back up again. So we're going to set up this gymnastic and just don't touch him when he goes through. Say, whoa, don't touch his mouth. And that was kind of my first big lesson on a thoroughbred. And, you know, don't touch their faces because you're going to get more than you ask for sometimes. And that horse ended up being a phenomenal jumper. I mean, we schooled 1.50 meter, 1.60 at home, which are pretty big fences, and he never batted an eye, he never blinked. And that was kind of having that taste of what a thoroughbred could be like. Really showed me that I didn't have to go down the warm blood route. I didn't have to be spending, you know, my whole life savings in order to try and get another string going after having to retire Tucker. So, you know, once you ride a thoroughbred like that, it's really hard to appreciate anything else, I think.
Yeah. And I love that that's like a cross-disciplinary experience too. Like, you know, because I have a very, very good thoroughbred ranch horse right now. And it's exactly like, I'm not doing a meter 50, but even just riding around, I'm like, man, I don't know how I can ever go back to a quarter horse, which is, generally what's prevailing in Western land. It's like, yeah, you just experience that difference, and it draws you in. I love that.
Yeah, I never thought about some of that you might face in the Western world as well.
Yeah, I mean, the quarter horse is king, and admittedly, like at the upper levels, they are very highly bred for, especially in cow horse disciplines. It is hard to find a thoroughbred that can physically do what a quarter horse can do. But, for me, I'm just kind of riding around having a good time. And like, gosh, I love my thoroughbred. I can trust him so much more. I don't have to go out and lope him for 2 hours before he looks at a cow. Like, there's so many advantages to that. So yeah, love it.
Cool.
Love it. I think too, Sam, like, I feel like so many people who don't necessarily have like the immediate into a circuit or discipline. I'm talking about like, whether you're the trainer's daughter or your parents immediately put you into lessons and you had all the opportunities handed for you. I noticed that people have to get scrappy and like beg their parents for lessons. And they're really that barn rat type of mentality. They are drawn to the thoroughbred. I think they're just naturally a little bit scrappier, where we like the challenge. We like trying to figure out the puzzles, and there's so many rewards. Like you mentioned, not touching their faces. Like they really do teach you how to be a very intuitive rider with your seat. Yeah. So I think that's just a good lesson overall for all of us to kind of sit back and be like, oh yeah, there's a reason we're attracted to the crazy. Like it's a good challenge. So tell us a little bit about your makeover pick this year. You have a lovely mare. Tell us her jockey club name and a little bit about her.
So her jockey club name is Ferda. I didn't know what that was a reference to when I bought her, but when I adopted her, rather, I got her from Long Run Thoroughbred Retirement Society. But we couldn't really find another barn name that worked for her, so we just call her Ferda in the barn as well. And so she was my pick for 2024. I adopted 2 mares from Long Run, and Ferda was just really stressy. Like she had had a couple months downtime already, just hanging out in the pastures there with a friend. And when I got her, I remember I brought her home and I lunged her in a halter. And she was like just as quiet as she'd been when I lunged her in a halter at Long Run. And then I lunged her the next day, and again, like she was pretty quiet. And I was like, okay, this is nice. And then I put a bridle on and took her to lunge her in a bridle, and she was just so stressy. Like it was a completely different horse. And I have worked with a lot of thoroughbreds like that. I tend to be drawn towards the spicy ones. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to give her a little bit more time. Like we're going to go back to like basics, like just learning to be calm when you're wearing a bridle and when you're wearing gear. Like it doesn't mean that you have to go and run your heart out if it's not what you enjoy, And so I gave her some extra time, and I didn't actually start getting her going again until late spring. And at this point, we actually were looking for a new farm then, because our current facility, they had told us that they were going to be moving to more like agriculture. So they needed to kind of get rid of the horses on the property in order to do that, to get rid of the pasture and whatnot. And so we had already known we were looking. And so I started her late May. We had kind of found somewhere where that we were going to be moving in the end of July. And I only got 11 rides on her by the time we moved. And that was around the same time final entries were due. And I just kind of went, you know what? This is a really nice horse. I'm not in any rush to sell her on or anything like that, because I really enjoy her. And I think that she kind of has a little bit of what I'm looking for in a horse that might have some upper level potential in terms of like her mentality and just her athleticism as well. And so I decided to just let her sit and rest. And honestly, it was so busy with the move anyways. Like I probably would have had maybe a couple dozen more rides on her by the time the makeover rolled around. And for a horse that's a little bit, more on the anxious side, I don't think that would have been very fair to her as well. So, my plans had been to get her going back in January, and then we knew that we were going to be moving again because we had purchased a farm. So moving twice within 7 months. And so I just said, you know what, like winter sucks up here. I'm sure it sucks in New York as well. Like we're pretty close. And I just said, like, I'll just let her rest until we move, and then I'll get her going again. And so we just moved end of February. So on March 1st. And my plan had been to like kind of hit the ground running when we got here. And she actually had, on the way moving, she loaded up into my friend's trailer with my 2024 makeover mare, Della Princess. And we're not sure what happened, but Della went down in the trailer before we even got her like down the driveway. So she had actually like fallen under Ferda. Ferda had fallen on her. They were both scrambling, and it was a really scary situation for a minute there. Like I didn't know if either of my mares were going to get off okay. And luckily we got Della up, and Ferda, I needed to back her out of this 2-horse trailer. And this mare again can be a little bit hot, a little bit anxious. And she was just so calm. And she like listened to me because the divider had broke away. So the divider was like leaning on Ferda as well. She was kind of being pinned against the wall by the other mare that was leaning on it. And so I just like was like, okay, I'm going to throw the rope over her neck. I'm going to try and get her out safely so I don't get squashed by the divider when she moves. And one of my friends was standing at the back of the trailer ready to catch her when we got her out. So that mare moved one step at a time, as slow as possible, while my husband's trying to hold Della off the divider by her tail because she was kind of like falling over in a funny way. And when she got off, she just stood there quietly, grabbed her, took her into the barn, came back. Della was back up like nothing had happened. Somehow both those mares walked away with just a couple scratches. So I think we got really, really lucky. But given the whole situation, I kind of decided, you know what, at this point, what's another week or two to just rest, settle into the new farm. So I just got her lunging last week and doing a bit of groundwork, and got on her for the first time on Monday since the end of July. And she was really good. We just mostly walked and did a little bit of trotting, but she's feeling like a whole different horse. Like she's grown so much. That was the first thing I noticed, was I had to go from a medium tree saddle that I rode her in the end of July, and she's up in a wide tree saddle now. So she's just changed an incredible amount. And, you know, in hindsight, I'm just really glad that I gave her that time, and we'll see what we can do from here.
Sam,
I love that.
so many comments are coming to mind, all of them positive. First off, terrible situation. So grateful that both your horses ended up okay. No, it's always scary hauling horses, even if it's just down the street, because anything can happen. And it's just a testament to probably the bond you had built with her over the time you had her, and that she trusted the situation, that you were the one to take her off. That really says a lot. I have a very spicy mare myself and can relate of, had it been someone else, who knows how it would have gone. So I think there's probably a big testament to your relationship for sure. But additionally, like applauding you and putting the horse first. Chris and I talked about that before. We've had people who have participated in the cohorts, and, you know, their horse just isn't ready by the time the makeover comes, and they make the decision to drop out. And if it's a good decision, they did what's best for the horse. But we haven't had someone who made the conscious decision, like, I'm just going to let you sit and develop and, you know, heal mentally, physically, whatever it is. And wait for that next makeover, because that's always an option too. And we've never had anyone on to talk about that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you took advantage of that, because that's why that rule is there, right? Because some horses retire from racing and they would be eligible for, you know, this year or next year. And some of them, you know, the rule is in place for, in particular, you know, horses who come off with an injury. But the reality is like some of them are just not mentally and physically ready to do that. And it is a big ask. You know, you've been there enough, you know, it can be a lot, you know, so, and yeah. So yeah, having you take advantage of that, like that's such a testament to it's also, I like it because we do get a lot of criticism that the RRP rushes horses. And I don't think that that's necessarily true if you're a good horseman who can, you know, read the situation as you did and be like, no, we're not going to do this. We're going to put you on the back burner and sit for a year. So yeah, I appreciate that from an RRP perspective as well.
Thank you. I also think too, like there's a lot of us that for sure, once you've done the makeover a few times, like you kind of know where the horse needs to be in order to handle that kind of environment. And I've taken a variety of characters to the makeover and they've all given me a little bit of a different experience. And so for her, I'm glad that kind of knowing what the environment can be like, knowing what she needed to kind of even be going, like, realistically, like, she would have needed to be going out a couple times a week to be ready to handle that environment, to just get that experience. And, she was only 4 last year. She's 5 now. And I think as a 4-year-old, that could be a little stressy. I think that would have just made the whole situation like not pleasant for her. And I do get the vibe that she's kind of a mare and that could get a little bit opinionated and sour about things if she doesn't enjoy what she's doing. And even in the limited amount of rides that I've had with her, it's kind of like there's that fine line that you have with some mares where it's like, okay, this is not really an issue we need to discuss today. If you can kind of give me this, then like I'm happy. Let's end it on that, And so even though I am feeling a little bit behind the ball again because I'm getting on her for the first time at the end of March, I think that there's a lot of other trainers that have brought horses along that they've taken off like in the late spring, early summer, and they're out in the finale just because they stay consistent with the horses and they stay very aware of like what that horse needs at that individual point in time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we always want to know like, ooh, like what was your secret? What was your formula? And like,
Yeah.
as much as like, yes, you have, those sort of benchmarks, where like, okay, maybe by May you want to be, going off property to school. And maybe by July you want to be like at your first overnight show, just as examples, like they're horses, right? So like there is no formula and there's no schedule. It's going to be whatever the horse needs when. So yeah, as much as we all want to be like, oh yeah, no, I just follow my secret recipe. Like there is no such thing. So,
yeah. How often is progression linear with horses? Not very often.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm still spinning like a top, I still don't know what I'm doing years later. So it's fine. I like the name Ferda. I think it sounds like a warm blood. Like if you continue to show her under that, like I'm like, oh yeah, people will be like, oh yeah, it's Ferda coming in. It'll be like, oh yeah, surprise, it's a thoroughbred. So I love that.
Right. And I kind of thought it sounded like imported as well. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Give her a little bougie name. And then I realized somebody told me it was like a Letterkenny term, like Ferda boys. And I was like, why would you do that to such a pretty mare? Like,
that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to stick with
Kenny. At least it's a quality show.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. I had to look up mine too. Cause like I get that vibe with a lot of racehorses, like they're named for an inside joke or like a reference. And if you're not in the know, like I had to look up what jobber meant for jobber bill. And I think I finally figured out it's like an old Irish term for a day worker. And I was like, okay, that is not slang I was familiar with. But for years I was like, I have no idea what your name means. Like you're
that's
just
funny.
jobber.
It sounds like a old time cowboy or something like that.
Yeah. Well, that's what he thinks he sounds like. So I just let him live in that happy delusion. So awesome. Well, I think we're going to have a fabulous season getting to know you and Ferda a little bit better. What are you the most excited about for this horse or this year, the makeover? Like what's keeping you going?
I think that I'm most excited to see her jump and get to jump her a little bit, to be honest, because, when I got her, she was kind of a ratty looking, like 15-3, if I'm honest. Like there was not a whole lot to her. And I'd actually initially gone to look at another horse that they had that had come in for adoption. And his name was Tempo Madness. And I thought he was a really cute little dude. And he was just like super quiet. And then the manager, who I had actually dragged her along to the makeover last year, she competed with her horse in dressage. His name was Mr. Nobility. And she said to me, I just have this other mare that's been like here for a bit. And I thought you might like to see her. And so I was like, okay, I'll take a look at her. And I remember looking like down at her legs and like she's got like an old ugly splint and she was just kind of scrawny. And I was like, well, I'll see her move. And she wasn't really anything like super fancy, but the shoulder on her is so impressive. And so when I was looking at her, I was kind of hoping that she was going to develop into that shoulder a little bit and the hind end. And now looking at her, I mean, she's unrecognizable from a year and a half ago. Like she's pushing 16.3 if she's not already over that already. Okay. She wears like a 54-inch girth. Like she's a big girl. And so the way she's even moving and everything is so different now. So I'm just really excited to see her jump. You know how they say that horses that can buck can usually jump really well?
Oh, yeah. Uh-oh.
Well, she's got some pretty athletic moves that I've seen on the lunge. So I'm really hoping that's going to translate under saddle in a positive way and not like my 2023 makeover horse, Big One, and his rodeo performance did. But
Oh, yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm most excited for, is just starting the process of jumping and seeing if it's something that she'll kind of take to. And I mean, if it's not, I'll work with her and what she wants to do. But I'm really, really hoping that she's going to be one to hang on to and develop for the future.
Oh, how fun. We'll have to get some like before and after glow up photos because we love those. But, we'll share that on our social media too if you want to send us any. That's awesome. Well, Sam, we are going to have a really fun season hanging out with you for Make the Makeover. Can you remind listeners where they can follow your journey directly on your socials?
Yep. So my social medias are under Meraki Equestrian. I'm not sure if you guys can like post that somewhere so that it's spelled out. But yeah, perfect. So yeah, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.
Wonderful. All right. Well, listeners, you can follow Samantha directly and get all the updates day by day, and then tune in on our first episode of the month. So every 10th of the month, we'll have an episode with Samantha, and we'll be following along with her and Ferda, and we'll see you at the makeover.
Thank you so much.
Cashel has been crafting top-notch products since 1986, designed to make your ride safer, more convenient, and downright enjoyable. From the Crusader Fly Mask, the ultimate fly mask, trusted by riders nationwide, to the blanket top performance felt pad with pressed felt with merino fleece. It's like a spa day for your horse's back. To the beautiful beaded halters, adjustable, durable, and gorgeous. Visit CashelCompany.com today and gear up for the ride of a lifetime. Cashel, where quality meets the saddle.
Well, we're thrilled to welcome a new sponsor to the show, and this one won't cost you any money. Its sole purpose is to save you money. And I have Tanis with me, and she is Senior Sales Manager of Equine Discounts. Tell us, what is Equine Discounts?
The Equine Discounts program is something that is put together that any horse-loving person that has an active equine membership can utilize our partnerships with major brands such as John Deere, Sherwin-Williams, Big Ass Fans, Office Depot, Farmers Insurance, and potentially others can help save money once you get set up with our program.
And, the part that I didn't know before I started talking to you guys is I always thought there was just a couple associations, and if you didn't belong to those associations, you weren't qualified, but that's not true, right?
No, and that's the great part. So we actually honor any equine association, large or small. So it can be a local, state, national. Of course, we have our large national partners such as the AQHA, USEF, USTA, USPA. The list goes on. But as long as you are a dues-paying member of any equine association, just reach out to us and we'll get you verified.
And that includes breed associations and all of them?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's great. See, that's the part I didn't know. And that's the part I really wanted to get the word out about, because the discounts you can get on some of these things are really good. John Deere, for example, talk about that.
So for John Deere, depending on how you qualify, the discounts can go up to 28% off. And it's a variety of equipment. It's all based on what you're purchasing, and that's how the discounts vary, but it could be anything from a lawn tractor to a large hay baler, anything in between. We actually have a very wide variety of units that we discount on.
And as you said, too, other companies out there, Big Ass Fans and Farmers Insurance, and there's a list on the website where they can go to find that. But the cool part is there's no membership fee here, right?
No. As long as you are in good standing with your equine association that you may be already a part of, or if you aren't and you still have horses, you can choose whichever one you would like to join, and then you are automatically able to use our discounts.
And how do you get the discount when you buy something? Is there like a code, or I realize you have to be signed up first, but how does it work?
So the easiest thing is to actually go to our website. We'll list all the different ways to reach out to us, equinediscounts.com. There is a phone number. You can text us. You can also email us. just reach out to us. We'll be able to get you set up based on the discount that you're interested in. And there are different sales reps that cover different parts of the country and Canada that will be able to pass on the information for you.
So there's no membership fee other than the membership you already have with your association, your equine association, whatever that might be. And all they really have to do is go to the website, give you guys a call to get set up, and, especially do it if you're looking at making purchases on any of the things listed on the website.
Yes, exactly. And you can use them as many times as you want. It's not just a one-time use. And a lot of the other discounts can be saved to your current accounts, like with Sherwin-Williams or Farmers Insurance, for you to continue being able to use it.
And Tanis, I also understand that a percentage of every sale goes back into the industry. How does that work?
Yes, it does. So when you call in to get set up for our discounts, for example, if you are an AQHA member, we would tag that in our system. And once you complete your transaction, that sale will actually proceed to AQHA specifically. So that can happen through all the different national partners that we have.
Oh, that's great. Sounds terrific. What's the website again?
equinediscounts.com.
Well, Kristen, we're in the off season of the Retired Racehorse Project as everyone's gearing up for the makeover in the fall. But one of the things that I love is the RRP is constantly pushing out educational content for both observers as well as competitors. What's going on currently?
Yeah, so we just released in March one of my favorite recurring columns that I love to put together every quarter. It's called Picking Prospects, and it's kind of loosely based on, I think it was a Practical Horseman. There used to be like the confirmation clinic, and a trainer or a judge or somebody would look at a couple of confirmation photos of horses, and they draw the little lines on it and be like, your horse has a good shoulder and a terrible hip and a blah blah blah. And I always looked at them, and it was always a little hard to retain that information. But we've taken that concept and kind of made it a little more applicable, I think, to people shopping for retired racehorses. So in the Picking Prospects column, every quarter we have an aftercare facility provides us with 3 confirmation photos of horses in their program, and then we pick 2 trainers. So you get 2 trainers from 2 different disciplines at the makeover, who have had some success or been veteran trainers and kind of been with us for a while, so trusted sources. And they not only look at those 3 horses and compare their confirmation as it relates to their discipline of choice, but then they also share a little bit more about how they like to shop for horses. So as a little spoiler, most people don't just look at a confirmation photo, but the whole point of this column is to help you kind of train your eye. And what I really like is that, because we have trainers from different disciplines, they never seem to rank the horses the same way. So there's never a horse where you're like, ooh, nobody likes that one. It's always like, well, this horse maybe doesn't have the best confirmation for barrel racing, but he's got excellent confirmation for eventing, or vice versa. And then sometimes they do rank them the same way. And it is always really interesting to see like, oh, the fox hunter and the ranch work, turns out those aren't so different after all. We all like to see the same thing. So we just released the latest issue of that. It's our winter 2025 edition. So you can find that at therrp.org/library, and then click through to buying and selling, and then picking prospects. And we have a ton of back columns, so you can look at pictures of horses for days and figure out, kind of train your eye and get good at finding the retired racehorse for you.
Easy, effective, and eco-friendly fly control starts with fly predators. Fly predators are the organic, natural way to dramatically minimize your fly problem, saving you and your horse from battling them all season long. Take it from our 23,000 plus 5-star reviews. Fly predators are the natural fly control that works. Learn more about fly predators and other Spalding Labs fly control solutions at spalding-labs.com.
Kristen, we're going to Equine Affair.
We are going to Equine Affair. You can meet up with us in our official listener meetup at the Voinovich Arena for the 11 a.m. breed demo. That's going to be on Saturday, April 12th. We don't know what breed it is. It's going to be a fun surprise. And then we're going to hang out and watch Wendy Murdoch's session and then discuss.
I really can't wait for it. And also for our auditors, there will be an HRN auditor dinner Friday evening. Details are in the auditor Facebook group. If you are not an auditor and are interested in becoming one, you can sign up at patreon.com/Horse Radio Network for as little as $3 a month.
Make sure you stop by the Horse Radio Network booth while you're at Equine Affair. We will be in and out Friday afternoon and Saturday, and you might catch us recording an episode.
And make sure that you follow our Facebook page so you can save the event as a reminder. Can't wait to see you there.
Want to reach a passionate, engaged audience of horse lovers? The Horse Radio Network, with thousands of listeners worldwide, offers unique sponsorship opportunities to connect your brand with horse owners, riders, and enthusiasts. Over 90% of our listeners have bought a product from an HRN ad in the past year. Partner with HRN and take your brand to the next level. Visit www.horseradionetwork.com/advertise today.
Well, Bridget, welcome back to Retired Racehorse Radio. We're here with the new Vocations segment, which is always a fun time to look at an adoptable horse of the week. But before we get to our adoptable horse, we do have a standardbred training question that we're hoping to pick your brain about.
Of course.
Yeah. So, okay. Now whenever I have a horse that comes into my barn, and I say this like I'm some sort of trainer who has horses coming in all the time, and I do not. I get like one horse every 3 years. But I always start out with a loose ring snaffle that's double jointed, like with maybe like a lozenge in the middle. Mm-hmm. And that's just like what I found to be a nice, mild go-to bit. But I would love to know, like, what is your method for approaching, like, how to know what bit to start with, because that's just what I do. That's the rut that I'm in, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. That's just what I like. So please help me. Is there a scientific way to approach this?
Well, my science has to do with what we talked about, I think the last time I was on, with some of the stereotypic behaviors that you see with the standardbreds and how much they like to play with their mouths and their tongues. So my go-to is similar to yours. I have an egg butt snaffle that has a really loose copper roller in the middle that they can spin and play with while they're riding, because so many of them really do like to just play with their mouth. And that kind of entertains them while we're giving them something new to do, because, you know, they're always really good about getting tacked up because it's similar enough to being harnessed, but sitting on them for the first time is, you know, frequently a little confusing. So, you know, giving them something to engage with has definitely seemed to be very helpful for them. I am a big fan of 3-piece bits, lozenges, rollers, sometimes even the little keys, depending on, how busy they like to be. And the nice thing is that roller, you know, it translates well, even to my Western riding people or my gaited horse people, because they do make leverage bits that have those loose rollers or balls or rings that their standardbred can continue to play with even while they work them in a non-English discipline.
Yeah, I do like those, like a transitional bit where it's like, okay, the mouthpiece is the same, the action's a little different, but like, let's start with that. At least it gives you a place to start before you're like, well, let's chuck that out and reinvent the wheel, which inevitably happens further down the road. So.
Yeah, I have some that are just like, no, this is not for me, but most of them do really take to that pretty nicely. And the ring is sort of incidental, the egg butt, the loose ring, the D ring. For them, really, it's just a non-leverage bit with that little bit of something to play with.
Now, what do you do like a little further down the road when you don't want them always kind of playing with their mouth? Like, you know, if you're, say, putting a standardbred into the show ring, like that can be considered a fault sometimes if they're constantly like fidgeting around. So how might you transition a horse away from that? Is that a bitting choice or is that more of a training step?
I think it becomes more of a training step. I tend to still use a bit with one of those like beans or lozenges in the middle, just because I like the action of the mouthpiece a little better. My personal show horse did really like to play with that, and he made it squeak constantly. But we did not, we never did have any issues with that in the show ring. And of course you find some that, just maybe they're a little strong for that, and you've got to find a bit that works better. Waterfords occasionally, same thing. They can still kind of play with it a little bit without being so obvious about it.
Right.
Because it's so many pieces.
Right. Yeah. The whole thing is just like a flexible snake.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we could get into a whole bits and bitting discussion. So I think like a good kind of blanket advice, if you are trying to figure out what to put in your horse's mouth for the first time is just get a really good understanding of how bits work, you know, and what the various mouthpieces are for.
Yeah.
You know, and the various actions as well. Like I like a loose ring, but that's also a little bit of a Western thing where like everyone in Western land loves a loose ring for a snaffle, you know, and that may not be the best one to start with, but that's what I like. And some of that is a little bit of that discipline rut too. So now what about bitless? You know, like you go on to like some of these standardbred groups on Facebook and everyone's like, well, try a bitless bridle. And it's hard to know sometimes if that comes from a place of a horse not being able to take a bit, or sometimes bitless gets that rep of like, it's more natural, which may or may not actually be the best thing, you know? So it's like, okay, when do you decide to try a hackamore or a Basel or some other bitless?
Because I show, I don't frequently go to a bitless option. You know, I do if I'm training up trail horses for people occasionally, and generally I'll do it temporarily if I've got a horse that really likes to flip its tongue over the bit. Since a lot of them have been tongue-tied on the track to prevent that, and we don't want to do that in riding horse land, I might transition to bitless for a little while to, you know, get them to not worry about that tongue so much. And it can be useful for horses that just, you know, don't want to leave their tongue where it belongs.
Right.
You know, I don't mind a Basel for showing Western, but I like to have a little more lateral control, I think, a lot of times than a Basel gives me if I'm really working on a show horse. But for, you know, pleasure and trail riding, certainly bitless can be an option for people, but then also understanding the way that different bitless applications work. The pressure points that you have with a Basel are different than that of a mechanical hackamore, than that of a jumping hackamore, than that of, you know, some of those patented bitless bridles. So
right, yeah, like a side pull. Yeah, a lot of people are like, "Oh, a side pull is so mild." And it's like, well, yes, but is that actually serving you in the way that you think it's going to? Yeah,
and paying attention to the fit is so important on any bitless application. You know, the bridge of the nose is more sensitive, I think, than people realize, where the soft cartilage is. We kind of take that for granted when we're using bitless applications on a horse.
Well, and especially too, I think with some of these Roman-nosed standardbreds, like I have to really watch where the Basel sits on Wes because he is so Roman-nosed, and I'm like, that looks good. And then you check and you're like, oh my gosh, no, this is way too low. But stuff like gravity really pulls on that thing, you know, because it's just built like a slide. So I do have to really watch, you know, even a halter, I've got to constantly be checking the halter fit because it tends to drift a little low on him. So definitely on the standardbreds, that's another point to remember, folks. So and I think you're right. Like it comes down to the same, like understanding how the mechanics of your bit or your bitless works is going to be key, rather than just sort of not doing what I do and just approaching the same tool every time because it's worked in the past, so it might work now. It's a good starting place, but I think we all need to probably go back and understand the mechanics a little bit better. Oh, love it. All right, Bridget, tell us about our adoptable horse of the week, betting exchange.
Yes, my buddy betting exchange, affectionately known as Tank, because he's just kind of a big sturdy guy. He actually had been adopted and has had quite a lot of life experience out trail riding, hunter pacing. He's even been fox hunting third flight, and he loves the great outdoors. So if you are not one that wants to be confined by an arena, he is a really great choice. You know, he will jump small things, he will cross water, he will ride in groups, he will ride out alone. He does not particularly care for arena work, and he will express his grumpiness sometimes in the arena, but he is an absolute gem for just going out and enjoying your time in the outside.
I love this. I love this photo of him. It looks like it's at a hunter pace on the website.
Yes.
Like nice big trot. Like, he just looks like he's like, let's go, kid. You know?
Yeah.
I can't tell if that's a kid or an adult, small adult on him, but he looks just ready to go.
Yes. That was his very first hunter pace, and he was delightful to have out there that day, and, you know, really was enjoying every second of it. So He needs a good person that wants to have lots of outdoor endeavors and not necessarily, drill 20-meter circles in the dressage ring.
Yeah, bless. Same, buddy. So we don't even have an arena, so he would love it out here.
Yeah.
Casual winner of $842,000.
Yes.
168 starts.
Yes. He was a very nice racehorse. He's a better's delight, and they've always been lovely to work with, as well as being very handsome horses. And if you have the new Vocations Track to Trail book, you can see him featured in the photos. His first ride is documented in that book on how to restart your standardbreds.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go back and look and find him. That's so fun. Yeah, so he's like a piece of New Vocations history now.
Yes, at this point.
I love that. And yeah, like ready to roll out on the trail. Like, so this is the perfect time, folks. Like if you are ready to dust off the saddle for the summer and like hit the trails, like this horse is ready to go, basically. So, all right, folks. So Betting Exchange, you can find him at newvocations.org or horseadoption.com. Bridget, anything else we should know about this guy?
No, he's just, like I said, he's one of my favorites. I really have enjoyed him from start to now.
I love this. Yeah. No trouble with water. Happy to pop over jumps and logs. Perfect. Yeah. I mean, he sounds like the dream, like fun horse. Like this is what we want. 2012 too. So he is not too old. He is. And these standardbreds too, like these things last. So
forever.
I love him. All right, folks. And did you say he was going to be at Equine Affair?
No, Goldie's Legacy, though.
Goldie's Legacy will be at Equine Affair. That's right.
We've seen at Equine Affair, yes.
Are you guys sending any others that we can look out for? This episode is going to drop right before Equine Affair, so everybody make your list.
So we're not doing the adoption aisle this year, but Goldie's Legacy will be in the Breed Bonanza, which is basically like an under saddle class featuring lots of different breeds to showcase the features of all those different breeds. So we were selected to represent standardbreds there.
Oh, fun. Okay, well, we'll have to keep an eye out for him and cheer him on.
Yes.
For Team New Vocations, Team Standardbreds, and Team Retired Racehorse. Love that. Yes. All right. Well, thanks very much, Bridget. And yeah, folks, get those applications in because I would say probably 50% of the time, by the time our episode drops, the horses are already gone. So you might be hearing about a horse that's already found his home. But if your application is in and ready to go, then you will not miss out. You can find our show notes and links to today's guests on the website at horseradionetwork.com. Like us on Facebook and Instagram, just search for Retired Racehorse Radio. You can follow the network on Twitter at Horse Radio. You can find me on Instagram and also at Threads. Threads is just me and Natalie Keller-Reinert from Adulting with Horses having a good time. My handle is the Horseback Writer. My email is kristen@horseradionetwork.com.
You can find me on Instagram at Misfit Mirror, and my email is joy@horseradionetwork.com. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Kentucky Performance Products, Cashel Company, National Thoroughbred Racing Association Equine Discounts, and Spalding Labs, and to our partners, New Vocations Racehorse Adoption Program and the Retired Racehorse Project. Don't forget to check out all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network, part of Equine Network, at horseradionetwork.com. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show as it helps us grow. Remember to set your goals high and love to learn from every ride.
And as always, cowside leg.
And hopefully, we're seeing you at Equine Affair this weekend. Bye, guys.
Woo-hoo.